get this microphone in the correct position here. Very good morning to you. It's Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. End of the week. I hope you guys have had a good week, and I hope today you can wind down, which means to start to relax and ease into the weekend. So what are we going to do today? We are going to be looking at how to improve your business English and other aspects of your English pronunciation, vocabulary. Let me get this text up here. There you go. Expressions, bit of news, and in association with Eleca Formación, tailor-made solutions for your business at elecaformacion.com. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at different expressions that we're going to be using in the workplace, buzzwords that you will hear in the office and that you can use in 2022, 2023. We are already getting near the end of the year. What else am I going to look at? We're going to look at what happened while we were sleeping, a brief, short look at the news. We're going to look at, what else have I got for you? We're going to look at some LinkedIn articles and not too much more. It is Friday. We're going to wind down. Okay, but most importantly it's coffee time. And if I can just get my coffee there. Indeed. I was looking at talking to my students yesterday, and we were talking about the best coffee in Spain and the different ways of asking for a coffee. And it seems that the best coffee indeed is from Malaga, believe it or not. There was a competition recently where the best brew is a nickname for a cup of tea or something hot, like a cup of coffee, for example. And the best coffee is from I need to plug this store now. They deserve it. I think it's called Kima, here in the city center of Malaga. And also another thing that came up was, what do we call the city center? So that is in the city center of Malaga or downtown Malaga. The difference, somebody asked me, James, what is the difference between downtown and city center and uptown? Well, the city center and downtown really are the commercial districts of a town or a city. So when I lived in London, people would say, they would say, I'm going to the centre, or I'm going up London. That is if they lived in the south of London. And if they lived in the north, it's I'm going down to London. Or often you'll hear people say, I'm going to the West End. The West End is the theatre district, but kind of the nickname for the city centre in London. And it varies, it changes when you go to different places. So, for example, where I'm from in Dublin, we would say, I'm going into town. But on the buses, it would be written city centre for the direction of the bus. Also in Manchester, I read yesterday in a forum or in a feed that they also say into town. So it really depends where you're from. And downtown was used when I was younger, and still is used, I suppose, in the countryside or in other places in Ireland. Downtown is used for the town centre, and also you might have heard it for New York or different parts of the States where they'll say, I'm going downtown. So it's where the shopping district, the commercial district, the business district. And uptown, which is rarely used outside of the States, certainly not on this side of the pond. Uptown is more the residential area, perhaps, maybe a nice residential area of the city. So quickly getting into some differences there. And also, while I'm on the topic, I remember when I was talking about public buses going from towards the city centre, often you'll see the word via or via. The jury is out, which means nobody is decided which is the correct pronunciation. I think both are acceptable, but via, V-I-A, means going through. So let's say I take a flight from Madrid to New York, and it's not a direct flight, but I'm going to stop in London. So it'll be Madrid to New York via London. Let me get this hair off the microphone. So via means through. So you'll often see that on scrolling, like I have scrolling text on the top here. You'll often see via scrolling through Madrid to New York via London, scrolling across. This is what these words are doing right now. They're scrolling across. Okay, so need to get a bit more coffee into me. Be like my little picture here of the. Often we say sweethearts is a couple. They're sweethearts. But a joke I told my son the other day was what you call two birds in love, and it's tweethearts. Tweethearts. Tweet. And that's where we get Twitter from, because when you send a message in Twitter, it's called a tweet, and that's what birds do. So I hope you're learning a lot already, and we're going to be, of course, looking at a bit of Twitter, because how can Elon Musk not be in the news? So he is indeed in the news. Let me find a place for this so I don't spill it all over myself. Elon Musk, of course, is in the news. We will look at what's happening at Twitter later on. First and foremost, I want to go and I want to have a look at what is happening while we were sleeping. So let me jump across there. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller for you guys. No, I'm actually just moving my camera. Let me just jump down there, and I'm going to go and see what was happening while we were sleeping here in Europe, Central European time. Coffee morning with me, James O Reilly, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. Join me to improve your listening, your pronunciation. You can also leave a comment for me on YouTube. You can leave a comment for me if you are looking on LinkedIn. I'm here to help you. The gift that keeps on giving. I don't know where that's from. The gift that keeps on giving. It's a phrase from somewhere. While you were sleeping, North Korea, Ukraine, Brittany Griner, and galaxies. All right, so quite a bit that happened while we were sleeping. First, let's look at what happened in North Korea. Oh, surprise, surprise. North Korea launches an intercontinental ballistic missile that falls into the Sea of Japan. Every time I do the morning news while we were sleeping, I would say a high percentage of the time North Korea has been busy sending missiles over South Korea or towards Japan. Tokyo said on Friday that the North Korean projectile appeared to have ended its course in Japan's exclusive economic zone, EEZ, or exclusive economic zone of Hokkaido. Japanese Defense Minister Yasukazu Hamada said the projectile flew for about 69 minutes and reached a maximum altitude of 6,000 kilometers. He deduced that it was an ICBM-class ballistic missile, although other details are being analyzed. Firing a missile on such a trajectory allows Pyongyang to test its re-entry vehicles, while avoiding flying over neighboring countries, notes the Japan Times. It is the latest episode in a record series of projectile fires in recent weeks, as Seoul, Tokyo, and Washington expect an imminent nuclear test from Pyongyang. I really don't understand this North Korea. I really, really don't understand this country whatsoever. I feel so sorry for the inhabitants of that country. Anyway. So it looks like they might be testing a nuclear, doing a nuclear test. Imminent means very, very shortly. Okay, 10 million Ukrainians without electricity after a new campaign of Russian strikes. Several Ukrainian cities, including the capital, Kyiv, were targets of Russian bombardment on Thursday. The repetition of these shots targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure since October regularly deprives millions of Ukrainians of power, but also of water. The inhabitants are being subjected to a series of missiles. Thursday's strikes coincide with the first snowfall in a country where temperatures could drop to minus 10 degrees. So when we see the sea afterwards, we can say minus 10 degrees Celsius, or just minus 10 degrees is fine. In the United States, they work with Fahrenheit, and where I'm from, and in the UK, we are using Celsius like most normal countries. Okay, if we get into that competition. I got into a conversation yesterday about how the different measuring systems and the metric system and so on. It's quite different in the United States to the UK, where if I weigh myself to see how heavy I am, in the United States I will be using pounds and ounces, and in the United Kingdom we'll be using stones. So I think I weigh about 12 stone. No idea what I weigh in pounds. 12 stone, I think in kilos, I'm about 80 kilos, 80 kilograms. It's fair to say no country seems to understand. The English countries don't understand the other English countries, and the English countries certainly don't really understand the European countries. And I don't know what you can do. All we can do is just kind of hate each other in a nice way and say, you're wrong, like you're driving on the wrong side of the road, and just be happy with that. Okay, the repetition of these shots targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure since October deprives, okay, Thursdays, okay, minus 10 degrees. So the approaching winter will not help Russia either, says Die Zeit, which is a German newspaper, especially since Moscow continues to struggle with serious problems, underlines the German daily newspaper. In addition to the loss of its most seasoned soldiers, the Russian firings are experiencing limited success. Yes, okay, hopefully this war again is winding down. Please God that it will end soon. Finally, it says here, Ukraine now being able to intercept most Russian missiles thanks to Western arms deliveries, including German ones. This is not how Putin can win the war. Okay, hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's winding down as it's calming down, coming to an end, winding down. American basketball player Brittany Griner transferred to a penal colony. I'll give you the background story of this again. Often basketball players in the NBA, especially in the women's NBA, in the off-season when the league is finished, will go to other countries to earn more money. They're often paid more money in foreign countries such as Russia, or let's say Turkey, countries where they have a big basketball following. So in the off-season, these women's NBA players will go to different countries. She went to Russia to play, and on her way out of the country after the war in Ukraine had started, the operation, the intervention, the invasion, whatever you want to call it, she was caught at the at customs, which is aduana. She was caught with it's not so you have cigarettes, and then you have the vape, and the vape uses this liquid, and she had a marijuana liquid apparently I don't know for sure. So she was put in prison, then she was put into a camp in Russia, and now she's being moved. So let's see what it says here. Lawyers said Thursday that the 32-year-old star sentenced in August to 9 years in prison for drug trafficking, had started serving her sentence in Mordovia, a region in central Russia known for its harsh climates. When it's harsh, it means hard. She joins tens of thousands of Russian women behind bars, which means in prison, and no one knows how long she will stay there. Basically, we say she is kind of being used in this war, perhaps, that she can be exchanged later on for somebody perhaps important. If they catch someone from the Russian military, if that person is important enough, they'll do a prisoner swap. That's what I imagine. That's from the BBC. Until that happens, her life in a Russian prison will certainly not be easy, and she will likely endure similar living conditions as other inmates. She will be treated the same. Brittany Griner's nightmare began when she was arrested in February, shortly before Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. Oh, I thought it was afterwards. Okay, police had discovered in her luggage a vaporizer and 2 cartridges containing a small amount of cannabis oil-based liquid. So it's ongoing. She is an African American who she's like a political prisoner, I suppose. Right, finally, the first galaxies may have been formed earlier than predicted, according to the first observations of the new James Webb Space Telescope. One of the galaxies identified would have appeared only 350 million years after the Big Bang, or 50 million years less than previous records observed. This is from the site called Kind. Somehow the universe managed to form galaxy faster and earlier than we thought. Okay. One of the main missions of the James Webb Telescope, which is in its 5th month of observations, is to study the first galaxies formed after the Big Bang. Based on the elaborate cosmological models, scientists believe that this research would take time. However, in just a few months, James Webb has already identified many new young galaxies. So that's great. We're constantly getting updates from this telescope. Space is a really interesting place, obviously, and it's becoming more tangible. We can see these great photos, and it's just great. Okay, so I'm going to jump in quickly and we'll see what's going on in the crazy world of Elon Musk. This is from the Daily Mail, and what's going on here? The Twitter CEO Elon Musk does a U-turn. Okay, so a U-turn is a traffic expression. And when you are going down the road and you miss a turn, you're, oh no, I'm supposed to go that way, and you go back. So you go and you just turn onto the other side of the road. You go like a U. I'll do it from your perspective. And we call this simply a U-turn. A U-turn. He does a U-turn on his WFH ban. Any guesses? WFH? What do you think? WFH. Teletrabajo. Working from home. It's very simple. We don't working remote, working from home, I suppose, are the acceptable ways to say teletrabajo. I have a feeling, I'm not entirely sure what they are saying in the United States. The Daily Mail is a more it's international now, but working from home is used quite often in the UK. So WFH is the acronym. And his WFH ban, after more staff than expected quit. Quit is to leave your job voluntarily. Fury at billionaires' extremely hardcore vision after demanding they all agree to work long hours at high intensity or leave. It's a bit of a disaster, Elon Musk taking over Twitter. I think everyone will agree that he's made changes a bit too quickly, and he was tired of the way Twitter was being run. He didn't like the way Twitter was, but instead he just went in like a bull in a china shop. So this is an expression causing a disaster. if you can imagine a china shop is kind of porcelain, and a bull, which is a toro, goes into a shop of porcelain, a bull in a china shop, it's going to be a disaster. And this is what he has done, causing people to leave and making changes a bit too quickly. Let's go on and see. Elon Musk's 5 p.m. deadline. Yes, he had a deadline for his staff to click on a link, saying whether they would accept to work really, really hard or leave the company. This has had more exits and people quitting than expected. Like earlier, people were leaving the jobs and then he had to ask them to come back. So it's not going well. Another thing he wanted to do, and I'd like to know your opinion on this, is the blue tick. So the blue tick is this verified check mark beside your avatar or your name. This was something that Elon Musk saw as snobbery, like I'm better than you. And he didn't like this idea of people being, he wanted to make it more democratic place. So putting in place where you can have a blue check mark for everybody. If you pay a subscription, let's say of around $8 or €8 a month. But what has happened since then is you get people like me coming along and I put my name as the name of your company and I buy a blue check mark. And then there have been cases. One of the cases was a pharmaceutical company, not the real one, a fake account with a blue check mark saying that insulin would be free, for example, as of next month, causing the stocks or the acciones of the company to plummet. Plummet is desplomar, I think, in Spanish. So there are, like I said, teething problems. When a baby's teeth come, it's very painful. It causes a lot of problems. It's called teething. And we use this in a business sense of teething problems at the start of a business. More, I don't know, feels maybe like it could be more than teething problems. He's got a lot of people leaving. They could be going to other platforms that we looked at here a few weeks ago. One of them that is sticking out in my mind is called Mastodon. But I was listening to The Economist this morning and they were saying that really doesn't seem like those other platforms have the capacity at the moment for a mass migration over to their platform. So it looks like Twitter will be okay, but Elon Musk really needs to get his house in order. What else has he done? Musk gave all Twitter staff until 5 p.m. Eastern Time, ET, if you're doing so that would be the eastern coast of the United States, ET, on Thursday, to either click on a link confirming their willingness to work long hours at high intensity or leave the company. Well, it's kind of an employer's market at the moment, in a sense that a lot of tech companies are laying off staff. So I'm not entirely sure where these employees will be able to go. Of course, they can transfer their skills. They are obviously highly skilled people, but there just might not be jobs available for them at the moment in the current economic climate. A lot of companies are shedding. To shed is like what a snake does. It loses its skin, it sheds its skin. Another business expression is shedding employees. What would you do? What would you do if you didn't agree? Would you stay on and work hard? I think I would stay. I think I would. Perhaps it's just for the media that he's giving this, putting this front on. Let's see what happens. Of course, he's always in the news, and we'll see what happens. But Twitter, remaining in the news up to now. And if you're in the news, it's good news. So let's just quickly say he laid off 3,700 Twitter employees, half the company's workforce. Yes, listening on The Economist earlier, the commentator did say that the company did have too many employees. So some do need to be laid off, but a bit too many at the moment. Right then. That's what's happening on Twitter. I'm going to look now and see what our word of the day is. We've got our idiom of the day. We've got our phrasal verb of the day, slang of the day, saying of the day from English Club. Let's see what they are. It's a surprise for me. But before we do, just remember who you're talking to. It's me, James O Reilly, and it's a morning coffee. So let's get some into us. I'm having an Americano. Very nice indeed. Oh my God. Can't function in the morning without the coffee. So yes, as I was saying, I was looking at coffee yesterday in Malaga, which has won the best coffee. But I think it's on a general day-to-day level. Before the end of this podcast, no, we're going to look at this and then we're going to look at the coffee. Okay, I'm just wasting time. Let me get in and look at the phrasal verbs. First is our idiom. Close that window or pop up. Idiom of the day, fall from grace. What does that mean? If you fall from grace, you do something that results in a loss of your respect and support, especially among those who influence your life or career. Example, the company's vice president was expected to take over the company until he fell from grace after being arrested for stealing company funds. Okay, so he was high in people's minds, and then he did something and he fell from that standard or grace. Another example, it's been sad watching so many athletes fall from grace and have their records deleted from record books for taking performance-enhancing drugs like steroids. A really good example of this would be Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was just the poster boy, American poster boy for success in adversity. He had cancer. He set up a cancer fund for the kids. He was winning the Tour de France, the most popular cycling race, and then it turns out he was taking performance enhancing drugs. That was a big fall from grace. Can I think of anything else? Fall from grace. Maybe right now in the news would be Cristiano Ronaldo. In the sense, for some people, he has done an interview slamming or complaining against many people in his entourage, his manager, Ten Hag, at Manchester United. A lot of people kind of see this as a bit of a fall from grace in a sense, because he's a very popular guy. He's one of the most popular people on Instagram, if not the most popular. But he's a special person. Cristiano Ronaldo is a complete narcissist, I suppose. Yeah. And while you're successful, that's okay. But now he's getting older and he's refusing to accept perhaps that it's not all about him, and he's not being very graceful. I don't care anyway. I don't like Manchester United. I'm a Liverpool fan, so don't care about Manchester United. Good on you, Cristiano. Good man. Okay, let's look at the phrasal verb of the day. We might do a poll to see which football club is the most popular here from you guys. I hope it's not Madrid. Probably is, more than likely Real Madrid. But not very happy with you guys. Let's hope we can get our revenge this year in the Champions League against Real Madrid. Phrasal verb of the day, bump into. Very, 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 very common phrasal verb. Very good. and it means to meet somebody by chance, by accident. For example, did you know Kerry was back from her holiday? I just bumped into her on the street. I have so many friends in this town that whenever I go out, I bump into someone I know. So it's to meet someone unexpectedly when you're outside, is to bump into someone. I'm trying to think of the Spanish. Encontrarse con alguien, maybe. Anyway, it's unexpected. And while we're here, I better make sure I've got my volume turned off. Yes. Unprofessional. But anyway, it's a relaxed environment here. Bump into somebody. So, do you think you will bump into somebody unexpectedly this weekend? You never know. It depends where you live. If you live in Madrid and you're going out into the city center or to downtown Madrid, it's probably unlikely. But it's possible if you live in a smaller place. Let's go back. Slang of the day. Is it going to be hit or miss? Smart arse. Okay, this is British. This is used. Smart arse. Smart arse is a person who's annoying because they try to show how clever and knowledgeable they are. I have or having an annoying way of trying to seem clever. Greg sounds like a bit of a smart arse when he's in a discussion because he states his opinion as if it's the last word on a topic. We don't need some smart arse ecology professor coming out here and telling us how to run our farms. This is British. It is commonly used, yes. Often you'll see people saying something like, don't be a smart arse. If someone's trying to be funny in a certain way, it's generally... and I think in the United States, they probably say smart ass. Just a difference. It's your culo is your arse in the UK. It is slang. It's not too bad. And ARSE and ASS in the United States. So if you say arse like this in the United States, they will be confused. They'll say, did you mean ass? So, smart arse. Okay. You could use it in a meeting if someone says something, they're trying to be funny or trying to be clever in a kind of annoying way. Say, don't be a smart arse. Okay. Saying of the day. Normally these are... Yes. Normally these are... Yeah. I'm going to have to open a new window for this. Because I'm learning. A word to the wise is enough. Okay. The interpretation. A very brief warning or explanation is enough for an intelligent person. Okay. A very brief warning or explanation is enough for an intelligent person. A word to the wise is enough. Okay. So, wise being sabio. Wise person. And if you say something briefly, giving them a brief, small warning, that's all you need to do. You don't need to explain yourself a lot. A word to the wise is enough. Perhaps you have this in Spanish. Let me know. Not common, this expression, but it's good. Not going to lie there. It is good. I'm going to try and use this. I'm going to try and use this in the future. So you could have this case in Elon Musk where maybe somebody he respects and says, Elon, calm down. And just from those words from someone he respects, if he realizes, I trust this person, I'm going to take their advice, then he is a wise person. It's an example. Right, so what did I want to do? I wanted to look at the roundup from the other day. And let's jump in here. It keeps jumping on me. Okay, so border management in the Schengen area. Bulgaria, Croatia and Romania ready to join Schengen, says EU. Bulgaria, Croatia and Romania are ready to join Europe's visa-free travel area and have proven they meet conditions, says the European Commission. The European Parliament recently voted in support of Croatia's entry. EU Home Affairs ministers will discuss the expansion in December. So the Schengen is a travel area. It's essentially like moving around the EU. I don't think the UK was or Ireland are in Schengen, but belonging to the EU is essentially the same. Okay, good. I'm happy for those people to be able to move around freely. Good, excellent. And I'm after jumping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and do this one instead, because I won't be able to find that very quickly. And we'll just make this bigger. Okay. Food. Ukraine grain shipments extended by 4 months. Good news. The agreement that allows Ukraine to export food has been extended by 4 months. The UN, Ukraine and Turkey have said the deal is vital for some of the world's poorest countries, which rely on Ukraine's grain, and brought down global food prices. Good news, and has allowed 11 million metric tons of food to be shipped since July. Can anybody guess where the picture is from in the photo? Anybody? That is from Istanbul. And yes, on the Bosphorus. The Bosphorus Sea, which when I lived in Istanbul, I kept on calling a river because it looks like a river, but it is in fact a sea, or part of the sea. Okay, moving on. Climate change. The 40 European cities leading in climate action. Athens, Victoria, Malmo and Tampere. I don't know where Tampere is. I think that might be in Finland. Are among the 40 European cities that are leading the world on climate action, according to CDP. What is the CDP? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what CDP stands for. The non-profit scores cities around the world every year across environmental action and transparency on a scale from A to D. Cities account for about 70% of global emissions. And in that photo, I don't know which city's in the photo. I'm going to guess Malmo, just because it appears. Malmo, I'm going to say, but I couldn't tell you. The bridge looks like a Calatrava bridge, which is quite popular in the early 2000s. Personal growth. How to not assume the worst all the time. Our brains will always try to fill in gaps in our knowledge, but assuming the worst can create tension at work. To counter negative thoughts, Fast Company says that you should recognize that what you're assuming isn't the truth. Keep an open mind, separate your thoughts from your ego, and ask questions to learn more facts. Okay, so don't assume. Ask questions. Ask your manager, hey, listen, what are we doing? Is the department going to downsize? Should I try to move to another department? Ask your colleagues. Instead of, or rather than, just thinking in your mind and assuming the worst. Okay, yes, that seems to make sense. Don't be afraid to ask. Moving on. Next slide. Idea of the day. It's time to normalize eating lunch alone at work. Well, very difficult for Spanish people who work in the office. Lunchtimes in the office are often social occasions, but it's important to respect everyone's boundaries when it comes to socializing during the workday, says Jessica Farm. I am reserved and introverted by nature. If you talk about creating an inclusive environment, then you must also include how others prefer to socialize with others. Yeah, it's really difficult. Okay, so this is the situation. My working life was, before I came to Spain, was in the UK, and there you can see that woman at her desk in the photo. She's quite happy to be there. She's taking a break. This is quite common. And often people make a joke of it and call it having lunch al desco. Al fresco means outside in Italian, al fresco, I think. But they joke and say, I'm having lunch al desco, which is very common in the UK. And often that woman might go out somewhere in London. She has to go out for her lunch. She has to get it from some place like Pret a Manger, and then eat it in a terrible little room. Her colleagues are also working. So we don't have, when I say we, it's not as common in the north, in the UK, to eat lunch in a group like you do in Spain. So we often eat alone and are quite happy eating alone. We've gotten used to it. We have I'm going to watch I have my smartphone now. I can listen to my podcast. I can finish that documentary on Netflix. I can be on my own. So we're quite comfortable being on our own. Whereas when I was working here in Spain, some people felt sorry for me when I was doing English classes on site, and I would sit on my own quite happily, and they felt bad. James, come and sit with us. Like, don't be on your own. Feeling bad for me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm an extrovert. I'm social. I like to talk to people. No problem. Also, I like to practice my Spanish. I don't have a problem. And they can comfortably speak Spanish during their lunch break. Okay. However, I do think that, unfortunately, maybe this country is becoming, and more countries are becoming like us, and becoming more independent, individual, selfish, maybe. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I have lived in different countries, and I do think our way, yes, we can defend it. I want to be on my own. Yeah, I know, but it's a bit. Then what happens is you lose your social ability. You become more socially anxious, and let's say I'm reserved and introverted by nature. If you talk about creating an inclusive environment, then you must also. Well, this is the case. It's like, now we must respect how other people feel all the time. And when you do that, then you're always right. Everything you do is right, almost. You must respect me. So I like here the way sometimes you just have to go with the group, or in other countries even more, the group is more important than the individual. And I think it's good to have a compromise, You've plenty of time to be on your own. It is good to socialize with your work colleagues. Of course, we must respect you. If you want to be on your own, absolutely. But do try to socialize. Well, that's my opinion. And I'm working at home with nobody, But I do see this as a bit worrying. I do. Your thoughts, please. And I definitely will. I eat my lunch on my own anyway, and I'm quite happy. But I think it's nice for people in work to socialize and have a meal together. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Today's debate: do you acknowledge your own value at work? From Alvaro Restoy Ramos, and he's a manager in digital analytics at Adidas. Not feeling good enough at our tasks can sap our energy. That means take away our energy. We can always do better. The loop is endless. The way we analyze, communicate, share our enthusiasm, ask questions, listen. All of this is unique and can be a real benefit to others. In addition, roles are often very open. They tend to be a bit undefined. This is an invitation to realize there are many, many ways to add value. Okay, I'm just trying to internalize what this guy is saying. So, yes, basically, you are a good person. The way you see things is unique. You can add, don't feel like an imposter. You can add value to your company. All right. I agree. Now, what did I want to do? Yes. I wanted to go down to this, yes, and comment on it. That was what we missed earlier on. And here we go. We'll quickly get through these. And then I'm going to do some words, business expressions before we finish. We did Ukraine. No, we did this already. Well, I'm on the wrong one now. Okay, forget about that. Let's go on to our business expressions. We did some the other day. And I'm going to go down and start with B. Right, business expressions from natives.org. Remember, when you're talking about the computer and the internet, it's dot for this punto. It's dot, okay? So in my navigation bar, it's dot. And when we talk about numbers, it's point. Okay? And to make it more complicated, at the end of a sentence, it's full stop in the UK and period in the United States. If you want to just use one, I would recommend using period, the United States word. Full stop is harder to remember. It sounds a bit strange. And period is understood universally, I suppose, now. If you say full stop to an American from the United States, probably won't know what you're talking about. Back to the drawing board. It's time to start again because something isn't working. Okay, this is our drawing board, and we're doing our plan for this, and we're going to sell, look into new markets for pork. We sell a lot of pork, and we have this idea. We're going to send a lot of pork to Indonesia and Malaysia, and we're going to send it all on one big container ship. And then somebody in the meeting says, yes, but isn't one of those countries a Muslim country and they don't eat pork? Like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's start all over again with our new plan of how to enter new markets with pork. So back to the drawing board. It's when you're going to start again because something isn't, or something just isn't working. Bail out, an injection of money into a failing institution to help someone with problems. It can also mean to stop doing something. If there's a crisis, economic crisis, and the banks are in trouble, the government will bail out the banks. Made people very angry in the crisis, recent crisis. A lot of people got angry because the government bailed out the banks, but they didn't bail out the people. When you help someone with problems, you bail them out of the situation. It comes from when you're in a boat, like a rowing boat, the one that goes like this, and then water comes in. Well, what you want to do is get a bucket and just get the water and throw it outside. The verb here is to bail out the water. I'm bailing out the water. So that's where it comes from. Okay, it's the origin. Next is ballot. A system of secret voting. People place their ballot papers in a ballot box. In other words, the piece of paper you use in order to vote on something. It's your ballot paper, and you put it in the ballot box. Bandwidth. I'm afraid I don't have the bandwidth. A polite way of saying that you don't have the capacity to do something, or signaling that you aren't important enough for me to help you. Okay. Right. Kind of if somebody asks you to do something, bandwidth, of course, coming from the capacity of your computer to function. And if you say this, your computer can't take a lot of downloads because you don't have the bandwidth. Well, you can use this to say to somebody when you don't want to do something for them, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the energy, or you don't have the will, you don't want to say, I'm afraid I don't have the bandwidth. Okay, so often a lot of people are trying to get you to do things at work, extra work, do their work. Does that sound like something that happens to you in work? I'm sure it does. So reply to them in this polite way of saying, I don't have the capacity to do it. Say, I'm afraid I don't have the bandwidth. Use it today because it's Friday and they're going to try and get you to do their work. Okay? So don't do it if it's not in your, if you don't have to. Next, moving down, benchmarks, standard for measuring or judging other things of the same type. Her performances set a new benchmark for our sales force. If you think of, yes, like, when they jump over the high jump, when they're jumping over the bar, you can think of that as the benchmark. That is the height that you need. That is the standard. Okay, there's a new standard, and her performances set a new benchmark for our sales force. So if somebody is selling 100, the new person comes, she starts selling 125 persistently, then you should be expecting that from your sales force. Next is best practice. A best practice is a method or technique that has been generally accepted as superior to any alternatives. Why? Because it produces results that are superior to those achieved by other means, or because it has become a standard way of doing things. It could be related to a standard way of complying with legal conditions or ethical needs. Just the way you should. A standard way of doing things. Let's just leave it like that. The standard way of doing things because what? It doesn't matter. It's because of. As we say in English, just because. Often people will say why, and you can say just because. Okay, the standard way is best practice. And you'll often say it's seen as best practice. Easy to remember if you just think of the standard way. Son las normas, which you could say, that can be translated as in it's policy. But if you think of best practice, often when you say it's company policy, son las normas, makes people angry, okay? I understand. But if you think of es que son las normas, in an okay way, it's best practice. Best regards, a nice way to finish an email. Other similar closings include best wishes, all the best, and warmly. I haven't seen warmly before, but yeah, interesting. I'm going to use that now. I like to try new things. Oh, I think I knocked off my camera. Let me try and fix that. Jump over and fix the camera. Yes, I've frozen. Deactivate, activate. We're back. Thank God. Okay. We're going to do a few more. And what I just realized is I was looking at a page and I didn't have you on the same page. So I apologize for that. But what I'll do is I will go over those words again. I thought we were on the page, but I was on a different Google page. So let me quickly go over those words that I was saying to you and just make sure that you guys can see me, okay? Yes, it's Friday. And what I have just done, and I feel bad, and I'm in the office and say, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. You can go over to your colleague and say, don't worry, we all make mistakes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to quickly run through those again. I thought that you could see it. Anyway, you can listen to this you can listen to me while I'm doing my stream, and you can also just listen as you do your other work. And those words are that we did today, starting with B, business expressions. I'm going to go through them quickly. Was back to the drawing board, which is when you want to start something again. Bail out, which is helping a failing institution or helping someone with problems, to bail someone out. A ballot, BALLOT, is secret voting. Bandwidth, I'm afraid I don't have the bandwidth. Okay, a polite way of saying you don't have the capacity to do something because of your workload, let's say. Benchmarks is the new level or standard. Best practice is the standard way of doing things. And best regards. Best regards is a nice way to finish your email today. I often use all the best. It just comes naturally to me. But as I saw today, warmly, I'm going to start using that. You also have a nice way to finish an email, which is best. All the best. I think that comes from best was very strange in English when it started, because I think it comes from all the best, and on its own it doesn't really make sense, but it's quite accepted now and it's quite nice. It's inoffensive. Warmly. Thanks, many thanks. Of course, depending on the body as well, thanks can come across even as passive aggressive. It's very strange, but I think we shouldn't overthink these type of things. But sometimes you can read in, especially from the UK, indirect English, British English can be a bit confusing. But you need to get the feeling from we will look at that in the future. So that's all for today. Thanks for being with me. Really enjoy being with you guys. Leave me a comment. Many thanks to people who just connected with me last week. Thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. If this is helpful for you, if it's helpful for your pronunciation, your anything that I can help you with, just all I ask is that you share. Just tell your friends, share my video with people, and let's build up the numbers. That would be really great for me. Until then, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will catch up with you guys next Monday. So join me and join the conversation next Monday at 8:30 in the morning. I'll see you then.